And we should be live. Hi, everybody. My name's Ahren Ciotti. Everybody just calls me Ciotti. And hopefully, you're going to learn something today. I'm using Joshua Bardwell's stream key. Give me 1 second here. I am checking the stream on the other monitor here. Looks like it's working. All right, great. So that is good to go. Thanks everybody for coming by. As you can probably see by the name of the stream, my name is Ahren Ciotti. I'll be your guest host for today. But like I said, just call me Ciotti. So yeah, a couple housekeeping things to kind of get out of the way here first. Joshua is on an airplane, so he offered that I could host his stream today. So I ran out and bought some gear. I'm on OBS for the first time, so prepare for just the total apocalypse of technology. Did as much work as I could last night and this morning to figure it out, but no promises. So I appreciate your guys' patience. But I try to keep it simple, so maybe it won't be a total nightmare. The other housekeeping thing I wanted to go over is in reference to Patreon. So I do have a Patreon set up. Let me drop a link real quick for you guys. I'm known as the Micro King. Kevin Stinger Swarm gave me that nickname a year and a half ago at Quad Camp Atlanta. That's a link to my Patreon over the... Oops, that's not a link to my Patreon. Here, hold on a second. That's a link to the stream that you're watching. There's a link to my Patreon. If you're interested in micros, if you like what I'm doing, head on over there. You can donate. I have it set up just like Joshua in that any, from $3 to $20, whatever you got, whatever's affordable for you, you can donate. That gets you access to my site, and that's where I drop all the secret goodies. Edits and unlisted edits and just general micro knowledge, some troubleshooting stuff, some articles that I've written. It's all over there, so feel free to jump over. Huge thank you to Joshua Bardwell for just trusting me to run his stream here today, but he also offered to send me all of the money that comes into the super chats. As the folks that have been watching my channel know, I don't have enough watch hours to monetize my channel and run super chats. So every time I've been on Joshua's stream, he's been cool enough to hook me up with those. So again, huge thanks to you, Joshua. Really appreciate it. It's been a really fun couple of months here, kind of getting my streams going and getting my gear figured out, and kind of a couple really cool people have pushed me to do this. So yeah, I hope you guys like it. I'm going to try my best to cover everything in the chat here. I have a feeling the chat's going to go a little bit faster than I'm used to. I usually get maybe 50 to 60 folks in my channel, on my streams rather. So I will do my best. The big thing that I don't have is the ability to... so I can't get it, since I'm using Joshua's stream key, I can't get into his... the back end of his YouTube to catch all the super chats. So I gotta ask you guys for a favor. If there's a super chat that goes flying off the top of the chat and I don't see it, do me a favor and just call it out. Oh, my mic is picking up the fan. Thank you for that, Peter. I'm assuming it's picking up the overhead fan. That's aggravating because I have a wind blocker on it. All right, I gotta turn the fan off. It's gonna get hot in here. You guys are gonna see some pit stains. All right, killing the fan. Let me know if that's a little bit better. This is a webcam. This is on OBS. This is a H2 handy recorder Zoom mic. Whole new setup. You know what I can do? I can probably move the mic a little closer to me. Let's try that. The closer I make the mic to myself, the louder the louder its level is going to be, and I can actually back it off so it's not picking up as much junk. So let's do that. All right, let me just get Don King off the side there. Okay, cool. It shouldn't be my PC. It's not the fan, huh? So it's no better now that I turned the fan off, guys? I knew this was going to be a disaster. No pressure, man. It's all fun. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Bring the fan back on. Hey, there's a super chat. Cool. So, like I said, I have to try to monitor the super chats in the chat itself, so I'm going to tend to just kind of jump right on them because, like I said, they're going to scroll right off the top. So, MC Creations can't hear anything. Okay, good. So some people are good. Matthew Smiley, Josh is on an airplane, so he trusted me to run his stream here today. Yeah, so I'm going to do my best. So first super chat of the day is from Supercell FPV. So I have a TBS Pro 32 Nano. When I plug in, it's noise. If I unplug and plug back in, it's clear. Really? Very strange. Why is this, is the question. I don't know. That's a really interesting question. Supercell, just type in the regular chat. I don't even know where to start with that. Why on earth would it have to do with that? Very strange. So you have it all wired up. You plug the quad in. It's noisy. You unplug the quad. You plug the quad back in, and it's not noisy. That's strange. I don't know where Joshua is heading, Quadrophenia. That is very, very strange. Oh, pit mode. Yep, pit mode. Good one, Larsko. Right, so it is initially starting up in pit mode. So I would work... if you're on the new... Supercell has tried another Pro 32 and it still does it. It's got to be pit mode. It has to be starting up in pit mode for some reason. So do a YouTube search or two, like Pro 32 pit mode. Get some info on how to get that going. If you're on 4.0 or 4.1 beta flight, it could maybe have something to do with the VTX tables. That's going to be a Google search. There's some good info on that. On GitHub, on the Betaflight GitHub. It's easier than you'd think. So yeah, I think it's going to have something to do with that. Great question. Get back to me. I'm really interested. I have that Pro 32 Nano in my Acrobrat, and I've had really, really good luck with it. I seem to maybe remember... having a pit mode issue with this when I first got it. So that could have something to do with it. 661 says, hey JB, you got hair. For anybody that just came in, my name is Ahren Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti, and you're going to learn something today. My name is not Joshua Bardwell. He is on a plane. He, for some reason, trusted me to run his stream here today from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here in the U.S., so I'm going to do my best to help you guys out. Again, if you guys see a super chat that goes flying off the top of the chat, do me a favor and remind me what it was. I don't have access to the back end of Joshua's, I got to stop saying that, YouTube channel where it gathers up all the super chats for you. So I got to literally get the super chats before they go off the top of my chat. So I'm going to do my best. To give you guys a little bit of background as to who I am, I started flying about 2 years ago. I had very... Kyle K says stay away from his back end. Deal, Kyle. So I started flying about 2 years ago. I was actually unemployed at the time, so for me, just getting into this hobby on a budget was sort of the most important thing for me. So did a little bit of looking around and kind of realized that micros are much less expensive to build, much less expensive to run. I didn't realize they would crash so much better. That was an unintended benefit. And with no GoPro session to blow up, just, in general, a lot less expensive. So got a OG Baby Hawk. That was my first FPV quad, the white one with the plastic frame. And then it took off from there. Started custom building micros, and in about January or February of last year, Bob Rugi, was talking to me, asking me some micro questions for a few nights in a row on Facebook. We became really good friends, great guy, and he found out that quad wallpaper, nice. He found out that I didn't have a 5-inch, so he rounded up a bunch of stuff, a bunch of props and some prototype frames, and just sent them to me without me really, without me really knowing. So it was a super cool a little surprise to get in the mail. So I built a 5-inch and kind of dove into that world. Spent a lot of time last year flying 5-inch and this year. So fairly well rounded. A couple months after that happened actually was Quad Camp Atlanta. My best friend in the world, Brad McManus FPV. I didn't have a bachelor party before I got married. So he decided that Quad Camp would be my bachelor party for me, him, our buddy Alex, and my buddy Luke. So we went to Quad Camp Atlanta. That's where I met Joshua Bardwell and all the guys, Kevin, Drew, Tommy, and things kind of took off from there. That's when I did the power loop and Matty flip inside the warehouse, inside Grayson Hobby's warehouse, that all of the other pro pilots were trying to do and weren't able to on a little diatone rig. I cheated and did it on a 4S, one of my 4S mini alien type rigs. Yeah, so that kind of had me take off. I stayed in touch with Tommy. We worked together a little bit on the Acrobrat, and yeah, just been kind of keeping up with it ever since. I am nowhere near as technical, as you guys can probably already notice from my lack of an answer to that super chat. So I'm nowhere near as technical as Joshua, but I'm really good with practical knowledge. I've flown a lot. For me, the fun to this hobby is flying, and I've also tried to not monetize this hobby quite yet. That might be changing here with Patreon and with you guys being so cool. Yeah, I've really tried my best to just keep this a hobby. No real sponsorships other than a frame company called Rotorius over in UK, who make, essentially that relationship came from me flying their frames and really loving their frames and wanting to get involved in the process of tweaking them and making them better and whatnot. So yeah, Peterman, actually, great question. He says, so maybe you want to say a few words on what you consider a micro. Need to refresh your stream of laggy. Is it getting laggy for anybody else? Or is that just a few folks? Let me know if it's lagging, guys. There could be technology issues all day today. I'm going to try my best. Just the sound, it looks okay. All right, cool. So yeah, great question. Few words on what a micro is. All right, so it looks like some are laggy, some are out of sync, a little out of sync. So the audio is going through this. It's going into OBS. Yeah, I'm gonna have to troubleshoot that in the future. Luckily, all I'm going to really do is wave my arms and and show you, things that are within arm's reach. So we'll be good. Although, man, that's going to be annoying for you guys. Golubi80, FXT Viper or Fat Shark Scout? I don't even know what the FXT Viper is, so let's try this. Let's go to the right monitor and look it up. FXT Viper. And what's the other one? Fat Shark Scout. I think the Fat Shark Scout is the box goggle. Yeah, okay, it's the box goggle. I'm a Fat Shark guy, so I think I lean towards Fat Shark, but I do also know that FXT makes a hell of a product. They make the best. I'm going to also try to not curse. That's hard for me. I don't know how Joshua's stream is monetized. I should have probably asked him that. But I will try my best not to curse. I'm also going to try not to play copyrighted songs on here. So yeah, I think, what's the price difference? $199 for the Scout. Yeah, see, for a difference of $20, even though, like I said, FXT does make a great product, they make the best. Turn down the megabit per second. Ooh, okay. I'm assuming that's in OBS. Let's give that a shot. Yeah, FXT makes the best whoop cameras out there. They're who make Tiny Whoop's camera. That's the camera piece is separated or is wired to the VTX, whereas most of the other Tiny Whoop, well, back in the day, I should say, most of the Tiny Whoop cameras had both plates pinned to one another. Oh, it's perfectly synced now. Okay. Yeah, everybody learned something today, myself included. Let me real quick see if I can turn down the... Ooh, there's bitrate. Okay, cool. So let's turn down the bitrate. 2500. Let's come down to 2000, and we'll hit apply, and we'll hit OK, and maybe that's better. Maybe it's not. So yeah, I would lean towards the Fat Shark for an extra $20. They're the guys that... that are on top of the game in terms of the best quality headsets that we've got available to us. So I would go there. They've been doing this for a long time, and yeah, $20 difference is not enough in my opinion to justify switching. Let me hit another couple things really quick. A couple things that I know that I'll get questions on. This little guy right here. This was sent to me by an awesome friend of mine, Ron DeLeos. He runs the FPV Geek. I'm going to go back over to the other screen here. He is making an excellent little Fat Shark. Speaking of Fat Sharks, what a great segue. He's making an awesome little Fat Shark switch, which you can see here in the cover image of his Facebook page. He's also on Instagram. It's the FPV Geek right there. THEFPVGEEK. Awesome little project. He's been working on it for a long time. It's been really tough. Getting a product manufactured is way harder than you could ever imagine, and Ron has been in that for a long time. But he's been super stubborn, thankfully for us, and he just keeps going and going and going. And now it looks like there is. The product is going to be coming out, and the version that he just sent me of it, I'm one of his prototype testers, have been for a while now. The newest version that he sent me is awesome. Really loving it. So check him out. He sent me this as a surprise. It's super cool. It like keeps me motivated because it's bright and shining, and when I just want to go lay on the couch and be lazy, I'll sometimes see this and be like, nah, let me do something good for the folks. So there you go. There's my shout out to Ron. Let me also give myself a super quick shout out. My Patreon page is here. I'm dropping the link for you guys into the chat. If you want to jump in, $3, $5, all the tiers get you access just like Joshua Bardwell's channel. And then I try my best to put some really good content in here. You can see there's some articles that I've written. There's a couple secret Facebook pages that you'll get access to. One of them is like a little swap and shop, which is kind of cool to have a small group of folks to trade parts and sell parts and whatnot. And then there's just like a hangout group on Facebook where everybody can kind of meet one another. So there you go, unreleased flight edits that I just have sitting on my YouTube channel as unlisted. I just kind of throw them up there, just a cool little community of folks. So yeah, if you like what I'm doing, if you like micros, there you go. There's a good outlet for you to see more of that. So back to full screen. Hopefully when I bounce back and forth, that's not what's causing the latency, but I'll figure out the latency later on. Lots of really good chats coming in. Let's grab one or two of them. I saw some good stuff on 1506, 1404 motors. Chris E., what's going on with the 1506/7 motor testing? This Acrobrat is going to get... Oh, so at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, basically in an hour and 40 minutes, I'm going to go live on my stream, and we're going to fix the video problems with this. That'll be a good time to talk more about these motors, so feel free to come on over there. Basically on my streams, I don't really put the camera at myself too much. I bring the camera over here, I point it at my workbench, and I just gesture with my hands as I'm doing now. And then I get like 5 minutes of work done in a 2-hour-long stream on whatever the quad is. Today we got to get the video system working on this Acrobrat. For some reason, I put it all together, and neither the run cam split is not getting power for some reason, and the FPV cam might not be getting power. It's just not putting video in, so there's something going on there. So yeah, in an hour and 40, we're going to tear this thing apart. These are the T-Motor prototype motors. These are going to be their F20 Pro 3, I believe. They don't necessarily want me talking about the size, but they're similar in size to the new iFlight motors that Joshua has recently received from iFlight for his Acrobrat build. He's going to do the build on his own. I can't necessarily drive all the way up to Knoxville to do the entire build with him, nor does it really make any sense. He knows how to build. There's nothing that I'm really going to be able to show him in terms of building micros. If you want the straight dope on building micros and all the crazy little things that I do to slam the stacks down really low and keep the noise out of them and just little tips and tricks, that's what my channel is going to be for. That's really, I go like long form, deep down the rabbit hole. Audio's out of sync again. Nothing I can do about the audio, guys, sorry. So yeah, my channel is really a deep dive into micros and all the little nitty gritty things that I do to build them in a way that makes them fly really good, I've been told. So yeah, we've got that going for us. But on this stream, I'm going to mainly focus on the chat and yeah, just try to answer your guys' questions. 5-inch questions, shoot them over. I mean, really technical stuff, as I mentioned a minute ago, I might have trouble with. I can search stuff. I will do my best there. But like I said, I'm more better with practical knowledge. I spend most of my time flying, really working on becoming as good of a pilot as I possibly can. Speaking of, I wanted to give you guys something really quick here. These are a couple of the, just also so that you guys can kind of see where I'm at as a pilot, to give you some idea of who this Ciotti dude is. Here's a quick rough cut that I did recently that I don't want to play the audio on, but I'm just going to drop onto the other screen. Just kind of talk over it. I'm also curious if this will play smooth. This is a really cool little spot that I found locally to me here in Atlanta, where it's a little church parking lot where the trees went very orange very early here. So I figured I would fly it, and I was pretty shocked because the spacing between these trees is like really nice. So yeah, this is one of my new favorite spots. So there's something, this is an example of what I throw up over on my Patreon, like unreleased stuff, rough cuts, hey, I'm trying to pick a song, guys, what do you think? So there you go. There's some of my stuff. I'm going to pull this off of here now, and let's jump in to a bunch of questions, because that's what Joshua Bardwell does on this stream. Playback looks good and smooth. Thank you, 507. Awesome. That's good to know. So yeah, this is a Q&A stream primarily for Joshua Bardwell, so I'm going to try to keep that going. Let's do some more questions. Hildy asks, have you tried the Zing 1404 yet? I have not. I actually haven't tried any Zing motors out yet, which is silly. I've heard really good things about them, and I do need to get on that bus. But for micros, I have a couple specific motors that I run that I've had really good luck with on very lightweight builds. Oh, I totally forgot to talk about what is a micro. I skipped that question about 10 minutes ago. Let's really quickly hit that, and then I can forget to talk about the Zing 1404s. But I think what is a micro is a better question. In my personal opinion, a micro is anything that is sub 5-inch. Because 5-inch rigs have just become like this magical, I really think what it is that prop size is just right for carrying an 80-gram payload, and nowadays 120-gram payload, right? A Hero Session 5 and a Hero 7. So I think that the 5-inch prop just is that sweet spot of making enough thrust to carry that much of a payload. A micro, I was about to say a micro doesn't carry that payload, but nowadays with Cinewhoops, Okay, well then okay, so there's an easy definition for Cinewoop. A Cinewoop class micro is carrying that payload, is carrying that 80 to 120 gram payload. A true micro, a micro brushless, in my opinion, is not carrying that payload. It is a fully self-contained build. Let me grab another one so that I'm not just referencing the Acrobrat the entire time. This is a little bit lighter weight of a micro on a 3-inch prop. Acrobrat is also on a 3-inch prop, but I think we can also bring 4-inch rigs into micros because again, it's you know, the micro version of a 5-inch, I guess, is a way to think about it. So that's what a micro is to me. Sub 5-inch, not carrying a GoPro payload. You've got to build everything into the frame itself. It can have HD. You know, this particular one has a Tarsier for HD. This Acrobrat has a RunCam split micro, or I guess they called it a mini, as well as a separate FPV cam down here in the bottom, which is RunCam Sparrow 2. So yeah, that to me is the definition of micros. They crash really, really well because everything is enclosed. They're not very heavy, so they don't have a ton of weight slamming into things. They don't break stuff that they hit. So it's definitely a different class. Yeah, Hildy, 4-inch too. Yep, I'm totally into 4-inch being considered a micro in my opinion. Super chat from Dean. I posted a question for my Beta FPV 75X HD. Thanks, Dean. Where'd you post it? You know what, Dean? Just post it again here. Oh, you did. Okay. I cannot, for the life of me, get my new Beta 75X HD to fly correctly. I've flashed firmware, reset to default, loaded the initial firmware, and batteries are so cheap, Hildy says. Yes, yes, yes. That was huge for me. I could get a lot of micro batteries and get a ton of stick time in because the batteries are cheap. Back to Dean's question, but it still does not fly for more than a couple seconds before a feedback loop kicks in and it accelerates out of control. Okay, even with no throttle or stick inputs. If I throttle up and then throttle down, the quad does not throttle down completely and eventually just goes crazy. Fantastic question, Dean. I feel your pain. Beta FPV sent me their 65X a while back, and right out of the box it was totally fine, and then within a bunch of batteries and a few crashes, the exact same thing started happening. And what I ended up blaming it on was the frame that they used. ET Drone Metal, my name's Ahren Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti, and I am taking over Joshua Bardwell's stream today, and you're going to learn something, hopefully. So what I think happened is that their frame just basically starts wobbling because after you start crashing it, it loosens up a little bit. I think what you want to do is go to Newbie Drone, and they just released the brushless cockroach frame. For anybody that doesn't know, the Tiny Whoop cockroach frames are kind of legendary for just being incredibly durable. They're one of the only folks who put 4, I don't know what to call these, stays? Supports, I guess, on each duct, which makes a huge difference. And they also do a couple other things that are pretty unique. They make the these supports kind of taller than they are wide, which lets the airflow pass through them really easily. And I mean, just the cockroach frames are unbelievably durable. My first Whoop was a B-Brain with a 6mm cockroach frame. It got run over by a car. Okay, a 4,000 pound, 3,500 pound car, and the frame was mangled, but I was actually able to take the frame and kind of bend it back into shape, and it worked. I got another one because they're like $3, but it actually did work. So yeah, the cockroach frames are just next level in terms of durability, and now there is a brushless cockroach frame. I think that is going to be well worth a couple bucks for you, Dean. You can transplant into a much stronger frame. That might fix the problem. If it doesn't fix the problem, my hunch is that you bent one of the motor bells. And this is something that you can actually try without buying that frame. This is something you can try for free. Let me Wow, OBS is really nice. I can jump into Betaflight and show you, actually. That's kind of slick. All right, so let me launch Betaflight on the screen that I can share over here. And I got to plug a quad in. I'll just plug anything in. So this is... and this is really good for anybody having these problems of runaways and vibrations. And this is also just a good thing to do every once in a while to check the health of your motors. So let's go over to the other screen here. So you're going to connect your rig, connect to Betaflight, and you're going to come down here to the Motors tab. Before I even click the Motors tab, though, props off. You're going to have to plug a battery in. You're going to be spinning up the motors. The props must be off to do this and to really get a good... I guess on a tiny whoop you could maybe leave them on. But the thing is, leaving the props on, now you're testing if the props are balanced and if the motors are balanced. If you pull the props off, you're just testing the motor bells to see if they're balanced. So props off. You can do this on a 5-inch, props off. You can do this, you know, whatever. Take the damn props off. Don't kill yourself. Then you're going to click the Motors tab. You're going to plug a battery in because you need to get power to the quad to be able to spin the motors. And now you're going to click this guy right here. If I shake my mouse, it'll get nice and big. I understand the risks. I don't have a battery plugged into this little micro, so it's not going to try to eat me. But what you want to do is ramp each one of these motors up, 1, 2, 3, and 4, nice and slowly from 1,000 up to 2,000, their maximum. You're going to notice that in the 1,300 to 1,400 range, that's typically where the most of your vibrations are. So the first thing you do, leave it sitting on the carpet or whatever, and just ramp each one of these motors up. You're going to hear how well balanced that motor is, and then you're going to go to the next one, slowly ramp it up, and then back down. Third one, fourth one. You will be able to, like I said, hear each one of those motors. The next thing that I want you to do is hold the quad in your hand. Now you want to feel for how balanced these motors are. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 again, spin each one of them up, and what you might find is that 1 or 2 of your motors are banged up and the bell is imbalanced. And that's what's putting a lot of vibrations into your system and causing these problems. And this is the best way that I've found to really do it, is individually in the motor tabs. Like I said, with a micro, what you can then also do is pop your props back onto it. You're not going to be able to let it sit on the floor because it's going to flop around, but you can hold it. You can hold a micro and do this same thing one more time, and now you can get to see if one of your props is badly banged up. So with a micro, you can kind of cheat the system a little bit and do it with the props on, although I'd be careful with like a 2S whoop. I said micro, I meant whoop. You can only do this on whoops. Micros, even a 2-inch micro will attack you. I have a couple scars on my right hand to prove it. So yeah, only whoops. Careful with 2S whoops. They're starting to make really good power, so just be really careful. Yeah, so there's a really good way for you guys to check your motor health, check your motor bell health. Dean, like I said, I think you'll find that either your frame is shot or one of your motors is out of balance. At that point, just get some replacement motors, throw that on there, and you should be good to go. The last thing, I always try to fix these things mechanically first, as we've just shown, and then the last thing that I do is I can go into the tune, go into the PID tune, and start backing your back your P's down, your proportionals down on pitch and roll by like 10 or 15, drop your yaw down maybe by 5, and you can also try dropping your D gains down, your roll and pitch D gains here down by 5 or so. If you're on 4.1.0 or 4.0 Betaflight, you can also turn your D-mins down by a couple points as well. But try to fix it mechanically first. You know, the tune that are on, when you start dropping the tune down, you're sacrificing flight performance, right? So we want to try not to do that. If I can fix the problem mechanically, and still have a good, still have a PID tune that's more aggressive, that's going to give me something that flies better in the long run. So there you go. There's my troubleshoot for that. Great question. The reason why I just spent 10 minutes or whatever we just spent on that is like the problem with micros. Most of the filtering and the R&D that's gone into Betaflight and all the other firmwares that we've got, Flyduino's KISS, and Flight 1, now Falco X, pretty much all of the effort that's gone into those has been on 5-inch rigs. So, you know, this specific length arm, I don't have any 5-inch, yeah, I do. So, you know, an arm roughly this long. So the arm's got a connection point here, and it's got a vibrator out here. So these 5-inch arms are going to wobble and move around at a certain frequency that a little tiny micro arm, or well, here's the total extreme of it, a tiny little tiny whoop arm, right? This is going to vibrate at a completely different frequency than a 5-inch arm. And then the other problem with micros is that the components weigh a lot less when we start. Fatal Paper Cut loves my use of the word vibrator. It is, right? We've got 4 vibrators on our quads. We smack them into concrete, and they get worse and worse and worse. Yeah, so the other thing that's going on is on a micro, the components weigh a lot less. So like your flight controller, right? A 20 by 20 flight controller that's soft mounted on the nice little gummies, it doesn't have as much mass to try to resist the motion that the rest of the what am I doing here? I forgot to go back to the webcam. That should be better for you guys. The weight of the flight controller does matter. A heavier flight controller is going to squish more on those gummies and allow the rest of the quad to vibrate around it. Yeah, Drone Metal says breaking it way down. Yeah, I'm gonna get off this tangent in a second, because this is what I do. I go super deep down these rabbit holes for 20-30 minutes, and it's really good, but it's not for everybody. I got to remember that I'm on a stream here with a lot more than just 50 people. So let me just finish this up, and then we'll start hitting more generalized questions. But yeah, micros have a lot of things that make them a lot harder to tune. The audio is going to be off sync. This is my first time using OBS, guys. Sorry. So yeah, the micros really do have trouble with keeping vibrations out. So fixing vibrations mechanically is something that I really think is a good kind of rule of thumb for working with micros, because you can chase the tune around all day. You can usually turn the P's and the D's down a little bit on a micro and still have something that flies good because they're lighter. It really does depend, though, on the motors that you've got and the props that you're running and the power to weight ratio. A micro that just doesn't have the same power, let's say a micro that's like 5-to-1 power to weight ratio, that might actually have a problem, and it might actually need more P and D gains to have the same authority. So there's a lot of things that go into that, yeah, we could, like I said, talk all day about it. But I'm going to put this down, and we're going to go back to the questions and and maybe answer some more mass audience friendly questions here. So let's go back to our chat here. Dean says, thank you. You are welcome, my man. That was a great question. Thanks for asking that. For anybody that just joined, again, I'm going to do this one last time right now. My name is Ahren Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. So should you. Ciotti FPV on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Here's a link to my Patreon, where I really go down the rabbit hole with micros. I'm also very well versed in 5-inch rigs. I've been flying GoPros for the last 1.5 years. So fire away with the questions, regardless of what it's for. I'm nowhere near as technical as Joshua, but I have a lot of practical knowledge. My father was an electrical engineer for most of his life, worked at Princeton Plasma Physics Lab. They literally made the 5th state of matter plasma in a tokamak reactor. So the guy knows what he's doing. He taught me to solder. I'm very lucky that I had him to teach me, because that's the other thing with micros. They suck to work on. But they're worth it because they're quiet and you can fly them in sketchy spots, and they're cheap, and the batteries are cheap, and they crash really well, and they're just awesome. So yeah, there's my pitch for micros. If you don't have one, get one. You're going to start to see a bunch of questions coming in on FPV cameras. This is going to be a great segue. The HD cameras are what is going to change things for us with micros. So a year ago, I guess it was, when the Acrobrat came out, so I'm going to answer about 10 different questions right now. When the Acrobrat came out, Tommy had it set up for a single camera mount. And I had asked him, can it be set up for a dual camera mount? Because at that point, I had flown the original single lens Runcam split a bunch, and at the time I thought it was latency. The actual problem for me personally was field of view. For whatever reason, well, I think I know why. The Runcam split HD sensor, when it pulls the FPV feed, it would just crop in on that HD. I guess to get rid of it. I guess so that they didn't have to resize it, right? They could just, if the HD was 720, they could just grab this much of it, and now we've got our lower quality FPV feed. Very quickly, when us prototype testers got these frames, one of the guys, I think it was Leon maybe, made a 3D printed piece up here so that you could run dual cameras. So you can see the little M2 screw there for the top camera, and you probably can't see the one down here for the bottom. But look, it's got two cameras, right? And this was mind-blowing for me, being able to fly through a regular old FPV feed and then have our HD was humongous. And one of the things that Tommy said that I didn't think it was going to come true, I'll be honest. I thought he was kind of stretching with it, but it did come true. The reason why he didn't build the dual, well, one of the reasons he didn't build the dual camera setup into the frame itself was that I was too late. But the other reason was he said, you know, let's challenge Runcam, let's challenge Caddx, let's challenge Foxeer to make a solution for us, because this will work in a, you know, these Tarsiers and the new Runcam hybrid, they'll work in a 5-inch rig. Maybe we scale down to 4-inch, and we can have a really gnarly 4-inch rig once those get as good as the GoPro Session or maybe the Hero 7. I doubt it. But we're kind of getting to that point. I'm not sponsored by Runcam, or I don't have any affiliation to them. So unfortunately, I didn't get one of their hybrids to test like some of these other folks have. But Nurk has a great video, and I was talking to Tommy a few days ago about it, and he was pretty blown away. And as you guys probably know, Tommy's been in the game forever. So if Tommy's impressed with the image quality, it's going to be good. So I am really looking forward to the Runcam hybrid. I think that's going to be the camera to have. Where did I put that other... where did I put that? Oh, I plugged it in. Right, of course. The only thing that I'm worried about, and I should actually look this up, the Tarsier FOV. So my one worry about the hybrid is the field of view. It says 140 FOV in the HD. To give you some perspective, Runcam Session is 165, I want to say, FOV. So let's look it up. Let's look up, see if we can find what the Tarsier FOV is in comparison. Because if the Tarsier... I have noticed on this rig that has a Tarsier in it that the HD... Oh! MC Creations for the win. Tommy and Albert Kim published a video today comparing them. So there we go. After these live streams, we'll all go over and watch their videos. Yeah, see, they don't talk about it in here. Did you watch it? Did anybody that watched that video today, what's the difference in FOV? Is the Runcam hybrid FOV on the HD side roughly the same as the Tarsier? I'll bet it is. Yeah, so I'll give that a second to maybe somebody knows the answer to that, because it's not telling me here. Let's see. Next Tarsier. Oh, hey, there we go. Here we go. Beta FPV coming through. Fair warning, FOV measurements are very easily faked or just wrong. So this might not even be accurate, but the info that I can find says 150 here, 16 by 9, 165, 4 by 3. So if this is accurate, the Tarsier has a little bit more FOV. That's a big deal. 140 FOV, I think, is a little narrow. That's going to give us that situation where, like, when we're going really fast, the horizon is going to go off the top of the our HD view, and then when we're going really slow, our subject can potentially be off the bottom of the FPV view. They said about the same. Okay, so that actually backs this up here. 150 FOV on the Tarsier versus 150 FOV on the hybrid. That's pretty close. GoPro is 170. Good one, FPV Attitude. Thank you for that. 170. So, yeah, that's something to think about. You're going to lose a little bit of FOV on the hybrid, but from what Tommy was saying, the quality of the hybrid was just unbelievable. If I'm honest, I think I'm hoping that between the Tarsier V2 and the Runcam hybrid that you can't go wrong. I am in love with the Tarsier now that I've been through the pain in the ass that was setting it up. It was like a pre-release product almost. It was very, very difficult to set up, and I said on Bardwell's stream, the V2 Tarsier will be great. And I really think it will, and it's coming soon. I'm not going to buy another Tarsier until the V2 comes out. So yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to go wrong. The air two-stroke me says, I hear the air unit will fit the Acrobrat. Tommy's got a video. Well, Tommy's video about the air unit. It's in an Acrobrat. So head on over to Omegod's channel, and yeah, you can see whether or not it'll fit. Spoiler, it fits because he's flying it in there. So there you go. And I know Tommy is constantly working on his frames to improve them. So I have a feeling that at some point we will see an Acrobrat that is kind of specifically for the DJI system. At that point, we only need a single camera, so maybe the front end will be slimmed down a little bit, right? We don't need this. We don't need this big bump to carry a second camera, so maybe we'll shave some weight off the front there. So yeah, that'll be super exciting. Acrobrat is a great frame. It's the only 3-inch frame that has a proper, that I know of at least, that has a proper clean dirty setup, which is really important, especially for a lot of these HD cams that we're getting that really have trouble with vibrations and with jello. So there you go. Great questions so far, guys. Thank you, and I appreciate everybody kind of bearing with me here. Hopefully the audio being out of sync isn't too big of a deal, but there's only so much I can do. What else do we got? Let's do some more chat questions. Again, for anybody that's just joining late, my name is Ciotti FPV. Bardwell was cool enough to trust me to run a stream here today. All of the super chats that come through, he's going to send over to me at the end of this stream. So if you have a question that you're just dying to get the answer for, throw it into a super chat here. It'll light up green. I have to catch them before they roll off the top of my chat. I don't have access to Joshua's YouTube where it'll group all the super chats up for me. So like if a super chat comes through, I'm going to jump right on it immediately. So I don't lose it. So there you go. Chrissy asks, Ciotti, do you use 6040 or 6337 solder? I use both. I use, for most of my work, I use MG Chemicals from Amazon, 6040. And this gauge, I really like this gauge, which is 23 gauge and 0.025 inches diameter. I really, really like this stuff, and it's rosin core. And then I also have a small spool. We're going to talk about DYS in a second. I also have a small spool for my father of much finer, does it say what it is? 0.050 inch. It doesn't have a gauge on there. But it's a much finer solder, and this is 6337 because I use this for the smaller components where I want to have that. So for anybody that doesn't know, 6337 solder cools down and dries and hardens a little bit slower So when you're working with absolutely tiny components, that's kind of nice in case you have a capacitor you're trying to solder back on, and you just need to scooch it around a little bit. So there you go. Have both. Get them both. No reason not to have both. So yeah, guys, I heard that too. DYS supposedly went out of business. That kind of sucks. They had some really good products. I also think they haven't been kind of keeping up. So DYS was huge for me. Oh, look at that. They're getting rebranded, renamed, rebranded. That makes a lot more sense. Because their Samguk motors were really good. Everybody liked their inexpensive 5-inch motors. Corey Simmons, I got to show that comment. Corey Simmons says, is that crystal ball behind you going to tell the future Fat Shark Bite Frost? Unfortunately not, Corey. Yeah, DYS was like, when I first got into micros 2 years ago, they were it. They were all that we had. I had a lot of rigs with a lot of DYS stuff, flight controllers, ESCs, their 1104 motors, and they were great. Since then, they haven't really kept up. They've been spending more time, it seemed like, on their 5-inch motors, which I thought were doing really well. I thought they sold a ton of them. So it makes a lot of sense that they're potentially being rebranded, renamed. So there we go. Hildy asked, do you fly line of sight much? Ciotti, I do not. My first quad ever, like 5 or 6 years ago, I got one of those silly little styrofoam infrared helicopters with the tail rotor, where you had to keep the little transmitter pointed at it because it was legit an infrared control link. And that's, I guess, where I started to sort of learn how to fly, but it was just stupid stuff in the living room or whatever. But that's where I learned how to, you know, what the thumbsticks did. And then when my buddy Brad McManus FPV, got into this hobby before me, for Christmas, he sent me a Blade Nano QX. So we're going 2.5+ years back now. Blade Nano QX. The PCB, it was the frame. So it was one big PCB that had the flight controller, the ESCs, a bunch of LEDs on it, and it held the motors. And it was actually 3D too. And it was brushed. You know, I know, I'm sure a lot of folks, a brushed quad was maybe their first one. This was non-FPV, and I flew it line of sight. It had green LEDs in the front, red LEDs in the back, so I flew that line of sight for a few months, and that's where I really kind of got the bug for... I was really impressed at how locked in. I didn't know what a PID loop, air correction loop, was at that time, but I couldn't believe how locked in this thing was. The old crappy infrared ones, they didn't have a gyro at all, so they wobbled all over the place, and they were horrible. So I was kind of blown away by the Blade Nano, how locked in it was. And I flew it around my apartment complex parking lot, line of sight a bunch, but then everything changed when I got the OG white Baby Hawk and actually could look through the thing. So there you go. There's a little history for you guys. Flying Ryan FPV says, I still have my Nano QX. Awesome, man. Yeah, it's funny. I saved mine too. I have it in a box in the closet. So there we go. Oh yeah, thanks Red Alpha. Yeah, like, subscribe, do the things. Here's I guess I'm supposed to be the internet personality, and Gel, we're gonna answer that in a second. I saw you you asked that a couple times. Gel Van Lou asks, Fat Shark Dominator V2 or Attitude V5. I will preface this with, I'm a lot less technical than Joshua. I'm not sponsored or anything. I don't get anything sent to me for free. So I have much less experience with each individual Fat Shark goggle. To be honest with you guys, I flew with a Eachine VR007 Pro box goggle for about 1.5 years in this hobby. I only got Fat Shark HD3s about 1 year ago. Yeah, about 1 year ago, and then I got my Rapid Fire April of this year. So I am very not up to speed with goggles. So, but we'll talk about that in a second here. Really quick, here you guys go. That is my channel. Anybody that wants to come over to my channel, there's a link to it. Shoot me a subscribe, likes, all the things, bells, buttons, do whatever you want. There you go. Thanks to everybody. Yeah, like this stream. Do many things. Do all the things. Go to Patreon. Do all the things. Anybody that, you know what? I'll shrink myself down, and for anybody that hasn't seen it, here is the video that I'd mentioned before about, oh, and I can play this with audio, hey, because I didn't put, my favorite thing about this video is the scream that everybody let out when I finally hit this, when someone finally hit this. I think it took me like 4 or 5 tries. Here you go. So I can't mix the audio, so I can either give you guys that audio, but I love, oh, no sound, whatever, I screwed it up, that's fine. So yeah, there you go. that was the power loop through the tables, and then here was this is the reaction after the Matty flip. So yeah, there you go. That's where I met Joshua Bardwell, and we've been friends ever since. So there we go. Two-stroke me FPV. Awesome question. Did your wife fly her first build yet? She did not, because it's not done quite yet. Let's get you guys back onto full screen here, and let's get this video out of here. Okay, great. So yeah, so what I've been doing over the past I don't know, month and a half is just riding Joshua Bardwell's coattails for all they're worth. I've got handles in those coattails, and I'm just hanging on as he I don't know, gallops across the desert. So I've been doing streams right after his, and he's been cool enough to so he had me on, he was in town, and he did a stream from here. And then ever since then, he's been telling all you awesome people after his stream, hey, Ciotti's doing a stream for the next 2 hours. Jump on over, say hello. And you guys are super cool for jumping over and doing that. So on last week's Coattails stream, which was, so Joshua streams U.S. Eastern Time 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and then I've been streaming 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And then on Mondays, he streams 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock Eastern. I've been streaming 10 o'clock to midnight, or 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. I've done like a 4.5 hour stream by accident. I just get carried away. On last week's stream, I had my wonderful wife, Kristen, work on her first build here some more. This frame was sent to us by Little Stellar Fox, Jamie Ann, a long time ago, about a year ago, when I was asking her some questions about how to encourage my wife to possibly fly, because it's just such a unique hobby, right? And like, I love, among other things, I love about this hobby that, like, yeah, I guess playing video games a little bit makes us men possibly more hand-eye coordinated, but other than that, you know, if a woman wants to get into this hobby and really dive in and just put the time in, she's going to be just as good as us. And I love that. That's the other thing I loved about motorsports, which is my background before FPV, is that drone FPV is not my full-time job. It's prior to setting this Patreon up, it wasn't something that I even remotely thought I could make $1 from, but I digress. So yeah, motorsports is that same way too, where if you know, if a parent, and we've seen this, Danica Patrick, for example, you know, she was put in a go-kart at a very early age, and it's not something that requires a lot of physical strength. Upper body strength is what men, genetically have more of, right? And motorsports doesn't really need that. FFB is the same way, and I love that. I love that the playing field is leveled. It's just so nice, and I really think that we need to nice MC Creations. I think that we need to really do our part to spread the love and just let the special women in our lives know that this is super fun. What Jamie explained, though, is that it's incredibly intimidating. It's intimidating because we got a huge jump start, and we're already doing it, and maybe we grew up soldering, just being into electronics. We got to build these damn things. There's all these things that are really intimidating. So I talked to her about a bunch of different ways to kind of get around that. Hey, what's up, Andy? To kind of get around that and make it a little bit easier. And basically what she said is, first and foremost, let Kristen come to you. Like, she said, like, Ahren, look, you're never going to get Kristen to fly. And I think that's really important. We need to get that out of our heads and kind of like reframe it, right? We're not going to get our wives to come fly. What we can do is make it available to them, share our love with them, talk to them about it. Don't just have it be this little thing that we do in isolation. When we picked this apartment recently, we moved here like 3 months ago. We picked it because of this layout. Out there is the living room, so Kristen can kind of hang out on the couch out there, doing her freelance work, watching TV, chilling, doing whatever, and there's a nice big open space so that when something cool is going on, I can scream it out to her. And DIS just went out of business. She just comes running in. She loves the drama and of the FPV world. So yeah, just the things that the awesome women in your life are interested in. Listen and talk to them about it, and they will become involved. And she came around just like Jamie said she would. She became more interested. She said, hey, I want to do that build. Hey, I want to do that build. Yeah, so now we're doing the build. If she never flies it, that's fine. She's spending time doing the build, getting to learn the true hobby. What Little Stellar Fox also said is that it's important for her to build it because then she's got skin in the game, right? She doesn't want to crash it. It's not just me handing her one and saying, here, go fly. She's in the hobby like we're in the hobby, and I think that's important. I think if you're going to stay in this hobby, you have to be willing to build and bash and fix and repair and blah, 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 blah. But being able to transport yourself into a magical world with this flying thing that can go above the trees and look at 5 buildings over, that's something that I think everybody can benefit from, right? Who doesn't want to do that? It's just hard. It's really hard to fly these things, right? So for anybody asking about this build, this frame is interesting. There are holes cut in it. We don't have a lot of the carbon fiber weave is also going in the wrong direction on the arms. So the arms are going to be very weak and probably break. It was a frame that Jamie had won, and it's a racing frame, so she didn't really have anything to do with it, so she was cool enough to send it over. And perfect first frame, right? Like the first stuff that we all bought was garbage, and we learned by it being garbage and broke it. So yeah, perfect first frame. These are the Rotor Riot skids, these little guys. Jamie did the paint work, so you'll have to ask her what paint she used because it looks pretty good. It's pretty glossy and smooth. Yeah, lockpicking is a cheaper hobby. Nice. Yeah, so she'll get this in the air at some point here. She'll get the build finished up. We're also doing a little AIO flight controller ESC all-in-one, which I do not recommend if it's not your first build. Awesome for a first build, less wiring. You can really slam it down low to the deck. Just simplifies your very first build, but it sacrifices some flight quality because your gyro is on the same board as you're connecting 3, 6, 12, 22 gauge, 20 gauge potentially motor wires, as well as 2 big old battery wires. So all those wires being connected to the board that your gyro is on are going to want to keep that board in place. It's not going to allow that board to move around on its soft mounting as easily as doing a separate 4-in-1 ESC and then a flight controller on top where the flight controller only really has 30 gauge, little thin, skinny, bendable 30 gauge wires on it, that's really going to give you much better flight performance. If you drop the PIDs down ever so slightly, though, these all-in-one boards can fly fine. They're just not going to be anywhere near as locked in as, in my opinion, in my experience at least, as a rig with a 4-in-1 ESC and then a separate 20x20 or 30x30 flight controller on top. So there you go. There's the depths of Kristen's build. Maybe we'll finish it. She's out of town until tonight, so maybe we'll finish it tomorrow night on Gel. I see your comment. I am not the Stig. I am the Stig's incredibly gangly American cousin. My background is motorsports. Before I got into FPV, I was into motorsports, specifically autocross, for 12, 13, 14 years or so. FPV was my way of finding a much less expensive hobby. The way to make $1 million in motorsports, arguably the only way to make $1 million in motorsports, is to start with $2 million. So in comparison, FPV is incredibly cheaper. Chris E is asking, are the Emax 1606, 3300, 4000s good for anything? Have you tried them? Yes, I have. If you want to buy them off me, Chris, I will sell them to you cheap. As proof, they are in my box of for sale stuff back here. So here they are, Emax 1606s. I ran these motors for a long time on my Acrobrat. And what I love about these motors is the stator size. 1606 is a great stator size. It's a little big. I think it's a little too big. And then the 4000 kV is just about right. What I don't like, for 4S on a 3-inch prop, what I don't like about these motors is that they are racing motors. And it even says, it does, it says race spec right on the motor, and it says it on the packaging too. The difference between race motors and freestyle motors is smoothness. And it doesn't come out as much with 5-inch rigs just because there's been so much development in the 5-inch world. But you really do see it on micros, again, because of what we've been talking about with the firmware and whatnot. On micros, it really makes a big difference how notchy the motor is and how smooth the motor runs. I can probably, you guys might even be able to, oh, now that I have a real mic, maybe you guys can hear it. So I'm going to take one of these Emax motors. I'm going to hold it right up to the mic. No, you're not going to be able to hear it. Maybe you can see it. So there are very defined, how can I hold this? I'm going to get my face out. Okay, let's get it. Wait. Hold on, guys, hold on. How do I do this? I don't know how to do the streamer things. Everything's reversed. Well, you guys have probably spun a notchy motor. See, so you see like the indents really notch, and you can really feel it. Like when you sit here and spin it by hand, you can really feel the individual notches. Why that's happening is that they're using an N52 magnet, a very strong magnet, and they're doing a very tight air gap. Those two things make a ton of power, which is what you want for racing. So if you're building a racing rig and you're going to do really pitchy 3-inch props or even 4-inch props, these are awesome. These 1606s are fantastic. If you're building an Acrobrat or any other micro that you're expecting to get HD footage from, I would not buy those motors because the amount of vibrations that they put into the system cause jello. These HD micro cameras have, yeah, Mikhail, I can't do anything about the sound being out of sync. I'm sorry, guys. This is my first time using OBS. I'll have to troubleshoot it. I'll have to troubleshoot it in the future. And I'm on a Zoom H2 mic. The vibrations that the motors put into the micros can cause a real problem. So these T-motor prototypes, and Joshua said that the iMotors or iFlight 1507s that they sent him are pretty smooth. That is going to be a much better bet for a freestyle-based micro build. Other than that, to be really honest with you guys, so the iFlights are 1507s. I don't love that size. I know why they're making that size, and I know why T-Motor is making this size, and it's because of all the they do cause tuning issues, Chrissy. Absolutely, they do. What was I just saying? Oh, the stator size. So 1606, I really like. The 16 is great because it has enough torque to really boss a 3-inch prop around. I think all of the other motors that we've got, 1306, 1304, 1404, I think those are all a little too small for 3-inch props. They really work well on 2.5-inch props. 1304 and 1404 for sure. 1306s on a light build like this can turn a low pitch 3-inch prop really, really well, and they do have enough torque to really boss it around. But on a little bit heavier of a build, we do need a little more than a 1306. What I think that we want is a 1406 or a 1506, maybe even a 1505. On this one, Gixxer Bike Life, this is a old school split mini with a Sparrow 2 regular old FPV cam. And on this guy is the Caddx Tarsier, which I see somebody just chimed in on. At some point here, I will be moving this over to the RunCam Hybrid because I think that's going to be a perfect camera for this guy. So yeah, there we go. RC and Power 1506, I have heard, this is speculation, I have not had them, I don't get free stuff, but I've heard they are very notchy. Which again, they'll make tons of power, which is super fun, but you might have an issue getting Jello-free HD footage from them. So there we go. There's I'm going to stop there before I go even deeper on what sizes of motors I think that we need. Pile of Carbon just asked a great question. If overpropping a motor can cause overheating, what issue does underpropping cause? That is an awesome question. Underpropping a motor is what happens with these Emax 1606s, and it's one of the other reasons why I pulled them off. I don't have a use for a Noah says underheating. Nice. I'm not so I had a GoPro Session 5 on this for a little bit with these motors, and it was awesome. These motors had the stank that setup needed. It was like 380 grams. It was really, really heavy. But I took that off, and I really prefer the Acrobrat as a freestyle rig. These motors on low pitch Gemfan 3028 was very underpropped. And what would happen was the motors would get hot. They would spin, when I would go full throttle, like 90% throttle, it would go all the way up to its max RPM, and then it would almost oscillate at full throttle. It was very interesting. But where I really noticed it is I left these motors on, and I took these 3028 3x2.8 pitch props off, and I put a 3052 Gemfan prop on. And oh my god, it had like twice as much power. And it was really unbelievable, the power difference that going from a 28 pitch to a 52 pitch. So yeah, there was just literally 4,000 kV on these guys with 4S was just not enough RPM for these 3028 props. So that was underpropped, and it flew like a bag of donkeys. It was bad. Chrissy, I would love to develop my own motors. If people keep subscribing and watching me, maybe I'll get the opportunity to. That would be awesome. But yeah, underpropping is maybe just as bad as overpropping. So yeah, that's why it's important to have a bunch of different props. It's really good to have just like a stash of, when you buy a set of props to test it because it's the new hot prop and you don't like it, don't trash it, save it, because eventually it could help you troubleshoot some stuff. So there you go. There's a nice piece of tech. For anybody that missed it, any super chats that come through, Joshua Bardwell is going to send me those bucks that come through, and that's a pretty much guaranteed way to get me to look at your question, because the chat is going pretty quick, and I know I'm missing a lot of questions, and I apologize for that, guys, but Doing my best. So there you go. OOJ Furnace said, I bought Spintech 1304s for a 2.5 inch build, and I love them. 1304 is, in my opinion, the perfect size for a 2-inch build. I have been flying that size of motor for a long time. That video that I pulled up, that is like the main video on my channel here. When you go to my channel, this video from Quad Camp Atlanta, I was flying these motors, and look at that date, February 4th, 2018, and I'd been flying these motors for a long time. So there you go. 1304 is a size with 5,000 kV on 4S that I have had incredible luck with on lightweight quads such as this, that all said and done you're looking at an all-up weight of anywhere from like 180 grams or so, 160 to let's say 190 grams. These are my preferred 1304, are the RCX 1304 that you can get from only from my RC Mart. Look how good this webcam just focused all of a sudden on the motor. All right, I guess that's what I have to do. The only problem is their shipping is slow. They have to ship from overseas. So if you pay $10 in shipping, it takes like 2 weeks. If you pay $25 in shipping, it takes like 2 days. So what I recommend is order a whole bunch. Do a big order or get together with your friends. These guys are $8. Wait, either $8 or $9 a motor. When you're on their site, there's a warranty you can get, a $3 warranty. The warranty is void as soon as you touch a soldering iron to the motor wires. So just take the warranty off, and they come down to either $8 or $9 a motor. They are super durable. It's a 2mm motor shaft in here. That's one of the other mistakes on a lot of micromotors, is they use a 1.5 mil motor shaft on the inside. That'll work for a toothpick style, really, really lightweight build. But for a more protected, more durable micro build, you really want that 2.5 inch motor shaft. So yeah, love these. But Spintech makes a great motor. I've heard awesome things about their 1304s. So if you want to buy something stateside and you're okay with spending a couple bucks more, the Spintech motors are an awesome choice for a 2.5 inch prop. For a 3-inch prop, as we've been talking about, 3-inch lightweight, the 1306s. RCX has a 1306, which I really like. Emax also has one. The RCX makes a little bit more power, but it's the tiniest little bit more notchy. It's not notchy enough that it causes issues with jello, which, you know what, I will put my money where my mouth is, and I will let you guys be the judge of that. Let me come over here to my channel, and let's go into YouTube Studio Beta, and I've got an unlisted video here that I flew from this rig with the Tarsier. You guys can get a look at the more powerful RCX motors on these props. It was actually this exact setup, which is RCX 1306 4000 kV motor, 4S 450. That's like a $9 battery that'll fly for over 3 minutes. Tarsier. This is a Rotorius Ripper frame, which is not out yet, but it will be out soon, hopefully the end of the month. Rotorius is the micro frame company that I'm sponsored by. It's my only sponsor. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to work together with them and give feedback rather than get free stuff. You know, free frames every so often is great and all, but I'm more interested in, hey, you sent me this prototype. What if we change this, this, and this to make this area stronger? Because I'm very, very hard on gear. New spot, new rig, please don't share. So here is the super secret hidden edit, which I did put up over on the Patreon page. Let's self-promote. Boom, there's the Patreon page. This is an example of a video that I put up over there. This is what you can get right now with the Tarsier. And this is, so the power of this rig is really well balanced. It is incredibly durable. I moved away from, so I was building, basically, I had like a toothpick essentially back in 2017. It's what my OG white baby hawk turned into. I put it into a carbon frame. I put it on bigger props, bi-blade props. What I didn't like about that setup was that it just wasn't durable. Every time, so what would happen is with a bi-blade prop, do I have any? I don't. So when a bi-blade prop hits the ground, what it'll do is it'll move the prop out of the way, and then the motor bell would hit because you don't have that third prop there to catch the ground, right? Imagine that there's just a second prop here. It's going to let the motor hit the ground. So I started banging up a lot of motor bells. So then I moved to a 3-blade prop. Well, a 3-blade great. A 3-blade prop is 50% more drag, right? It's an entire extra blade, but you get great durability from it because the other prop blade will hit the ground first, and usually that's also enough to then let the arm protector, the carbon arm protector, also hit. So you bend a lot less bells. You have a stick on your desk. What do you mean, Kyle? And then I also went to the Alien style. So I basically looked at 5-inch and said, okay, this is where all the R&D has been done. What frame design have they decided on is the best for packaging up, the equipment that we've got, which is a camera, a couple boards, a VTX, a receiver, and it was, of course, the Alien frame, right? So Rotorius was pretty much the only company that made a little 2.5-inch. It actually lives on my wall. It's the exact frame that I was flying in that quad camp video, which means a lot to me. And this was like Gen 1 of this, what's now become the Rotorius Ripper frame. The Ripper frame is basically going to be like Gen 4 of that. So yeah, that's how I kind of built up what I found to be the best setup for a micro. That's just me. This is built around the way that I fly, which is to crash a lot, to push myself beyond my skill level, so that I can get better as quick as possible. That is something early on in the hobby that I decided was important to me, was flying a lot and just specifically becoming as good of a pilot as I could. Probably because when I was in motorsports, it was something that I did too. I really took my time and did a lot of research to be as good of a driver as possible, rather than focusing on building the fastest car. I was fine having a slow car, but learning to drive it very fast. Slow car fast is what we say in the motorsports world. Pile of Carbon donated 50 SEK? SEK. I don't know what SEK is, but I like it. And he said, thanks a lot for explaining prop choice and motors. Always confused the heck out of me. I am G-rating that because I don't want to get Joshua Bardwell any copyright strikes or anything weird. I don't know how it works. My stream's not monetized, so I haven't learned any of that stuff. FDS FPV Quad Ventures says, crashing quads is cheaper than crashing race cars. Yes, it is. So, yeah, that's sort of another little bit of insight into my my path with micros. No wrong answers. If you don't crash a lot, a toothpick is going to take advantage of a lighter weight rig. If you don't need the durability of a rig like this, then a toothpick is going to be better for you. Unless you throw in, well, I need HD. If you need HD, there's some things coming. There's a baby turtle that just came out. Maybe that'll be good, but you're still flying through the same lens. I don't know. We'll see where the tech takes us. SEK is Swedish. Oh, is that kroners? Oh, SEK, Swedish kroners? Is that it? 50 Swedish kroners? Yes! I have Swedish kroners, I think. Krona. Okay. Thank you, Pile of Carbon. Very, very cool of you. I really do appreciate that. And I appreciate all you guys for hanging out, for staying. I know this is not the usual Bardwell stream with tons of down and dirty tech on how to fix the million and one issues that we run into on these things. As I mentioned, I'm much less technical than Joshua, but I have a good bit of kind of practical knowledge, and I've spent a lot of time flying, editing. I also have a background in video. I was a TV radio major in the early 2000s at university. And so I've been making edits. If you guys actually dig on my YouTube channel, I've got edits that are like 10, 11, 12 years old, car edits. So there's about like 40 or 50 driving edits that'll just bore you to tears because the technology sucked back then. Yeah, that is another part of my background there. So yeah, any like editing related questions, I spend a good amount of time in Premiere. Hell, we can go into Premiere and look at an edit. What time is it? 2:23. Yeah, so we've got another like 40 or so minutes. If you guys have Premiere questions, we can launch Premiere over here. I'm halfway through an edit. Whatever you guys want, we will do it. And then at the end of this stream here in 40 something minutes, if you want to come over to my stream, we can do even more. So yeah, there we go. How did I get into Joshua's YouTube? Take a Flight FPV asks. So you can schedule a stream and it'll give you a stream key. And then if you give someone else the stream key, they can put it into OBS and OBS will magically use that to let you go onto their stream. So I have his stream key and I'm taking over and you guys are coming with me. What you guys keep, I keep seeing set VTX power over and over and over again. Mackay, who you talking to? What's going on with VTXs? Maybe I can help. Probably not. Because again, I'm just not super technical. Craft King says he has absolutely no editing experience. Cool. Anybody else? Does anybody else want to see editing and maybe look at that? Or are there haven't been a ton of questions. So let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, why not? Which monitor casts? This monitor casts. Okay, so I can't put that in front. All right, bear with me. I'm going to keep my mic up. Let's get this out of here. And let's go to the mall. Anybody who gets that reference, you've got problems. It's from a TV show. Sean Hale said he would love to watch editing. Cool. Let's do it. What was I working on? I was working on... the orange trees. Yeah, the orange trees. That's the most recent thing I was working on. Cool. Nabi has one question. Fire away. How can I, Mackay asks, how can I attach SmartPort to a Mamba F4 flight controller? All right, let's do something technical because that's typically what goes on in this stream. It also does take Premiere some time to load up on my 11-year-old Mac computer here. So let's look up, what was it? Mamba F4. Mamba F4 flight controller. What do we got? Let's go to images and, all right, on my other screen, Premiere just opened and it's covering everything up. So let me shrink it down a little bit because it's covering up the stream or the chat. All right, that's better. And something seems to have happened with my Premiere, and all the media is gone. So my whole edit is for some reason not in there. That's weird. Premiere is very challenging at times. So maybe we won't. Let me try. I will try opening one more edit though. Man, Premiere is frustrating. I wish that I had done. I do pay Adobe. I do pay for Premiere, which is why I'm frustrated by it when this happens. I wish I'd learned DaVinci Resolve. Oh yeah, Mackay, it could be. I just have too much going on. If use DaVinci Resolve, people, just use it. So we had a question about the Mamba, and I wanted to look up the wiring diagram. Now we're talking. Is it a 30 by 30 or is it a 20 by 20? Mamba F4FC. Mackay, is it 30 by 30 Mamba or 20 by 20 Mamba? My hunch, though, is going to be that I feel like you're asking the question maybe because you ran out of UARTs or something like that. 20 by 20. Okay, so that's this little guy. F405, is that the one? That looks like it. In stock, Diatone Mamba F405 F4 flight controller. So I'm assuming this is the one. Why in Google Images did it have? That's why. Okay. So let's take a look. So what do you Kyle K got it. Oh my God. Kyle K got the reference. Let's Go to the Mall by Robin Sparkles. Man, you are as nerdy as I am, Kyle. Good on you. That's that's from How I Met Your Mother. So SmartPort. So you've got a VTX with smart audio. I'm assuming that you're looking to hook up. Crossfire Nano, channel 1, channel 2. There it is, there it is. TBS Unify. Okay, so Signal Smart Audio is on orange. So they want you to send that to TX3. So there you go. It looks like they've got the resource there for you. And then TX3 on your ports tab is going to be serial port 3. And then you can just flip that over to Smart Audio, and you should be good to go. It looks like they've got you covered. So yeah, put it right here to the TX3 pad, which is handy dandy right next to your video out pad, and you should be golden. And if you need me to, well, I'll just do it. Let's launch beta flight, and I'll show you where to put the. Oh, there's no labels on the Mamba board. That's super annoying. Okay, so to find this wiring, well, screw it. I'll put a link to the wiring diagram into the chat. Here you go. Boom. There it is. That should bring you to the wiring diagram. But if it doesn't, I just searched. I searched Mamba F4FC, and I hit this third one here, the third image result. There you go. And then when you, let me get your, I gotta plug a quad in to, I'll show you the ports tab real quick so you'll have the, hopefully you guys don't see my bum hanging out of my ass crack. Hang on. Hold up. All right, there you go. So that's TX3. So when you connect to Betaflight, you're gonna come into your ports tab, and that's the same thing as UART3. You're going to come over here to the peripherals tab, and you're going to select VTX TBS Smart Audio. And then you'll have smart audio, and you'll never be able to not have smart audio again because it's that good. All right. So there we have it. Let me see if I can get Premiere to work really quick because there's kind of no reason that it should be doing this. It did this to me once before. Let me open up. I finished. Crafts King says, yeah, they usually have pull-out instructions. That's true. I genuinely like when flight controllers or ESCs comes with a piece of paper that have the pinout on it. So let's give Premiere a second here, see if it was just cranky with that one edit file, yeah, we can spend a little bit of time in Premiere. Let me hit another chat or two up here. Nabi asks, what editing software do you use? I use Premiere because my wife is a graphic designer, so we pay for the Creative Suite, and it just comes with it. Okay, so one of my other edits is totally fine. So it must be a problem with that particular working file. And that sucks a big one. Let me try it one more time. Maybe it was just cranky when in that moment that I launched into it. Orange trees. Let's try one more time. Okay. What is Control-Alt-Delete? Control-Alt-Delete on Mac OS? That is force quit. Alexandru Goya asks a question that I can't answer because I don't have one yet, and I don't talk about things in like full confidence that I haven't personally tested. And yeah, look at this nonsense. It's I had a whole sequence in there. So what I'm pretty sure happened is the sequence is in one of these. That's what happened previously. But I did have to like Google search to figure it out, and I'm not going to do that while you guys are waiting. So we'll probably just talk through some more questions because this is being stupid right now. So yeah, let's just talk through more questions. Let me get out of here. There we go. Okay, cool. So which toothpick do you recommend as being the most durable or best all around? First and foremost, the toothpicks are never going to be as durable as like a fully framed build. So keep that in mind. Bi-blade props are going to rotate out of the way when you crash, and you're going to bang up motor bells. So be prepared for that. If you crash a lot, which I do, a lot, toothpicks could be a rough time. Yes, change my screen. Why, Sean? Should be full screen. So yeah, just be prepared for that. If you crash a ton, toothpick might not be the best option because of the bi-blades. Put tri-blades on it. Now you might start breaking arms because they're very thin. My suggestion for the toothpick is going to be to follow Rugi. He has done most of the research and development on the toothpicks. He's got a Facebook group, Kebab FPV, I believe. We'll into a Facebook search, we'll find his Facebook group. Lots of knowledgeable people. He's putting his tech in there, but for the most part, I would just stick with, and like for example, when I'm ready to get a toothpick, I'm just going to message him. It helps that I'm friends with him, but I'm just going to say, hey, what's the hot flight controller, ESC board all in one? What are the hot motors? What are the right props? Pilots who I'm somebody that loves to tinker. I love to take a setup and then modify it and try to find something that's a little bit better. But a pro pilot that's been flying for a long time has already done that. So taking their exact setup and just going with that is going to save you a lot of time and energy and money, potentially, trying to figure out what is going on. So Kebab's website is fpvcycle.com. And then, yeah, just hit him up. Watch his videos. Lots of really, really great content. And he has a 3-inch TP3, Toothpick 3, coming soon. That should be awesome. And that will also do a little bit better of a job of carrying these new HD cams that we have coming, like the turtle, like the baby turtle, hell, maybe even a Runcam hybrid or a Caddx Tarsier. So yeah, that's all I can confidently say about the toothpicks. Like I said earlier, I had a toothpick in 2017. It was a little bit less powerful. It was on a little oh man, the OG folks will remember. It was on a F3. Oh wow, I forget the name of the board now. Femto F3 was the flight controller, and it was like 16 by 16. It didn't have stack holes, and then the Baby Hawk had individual little tiny 5 amp individual ARM ESCs. That was my toothpick way back when. So yeah, they've come quite a ways. The fact that they can run on the Whoop boards now is super cool and saves weight and saves complexity. But I know that there's been some growing pains with those Whoop boards blowing up. But that seems to be handled the new ones that are now coming out seem to be pretty robust. So yeah, toothpicks are an awesome class of quad. They're so perfect for like what I used to do with them is I would go on my hour lunch break at work. I would go across the street to a public park where like there weren't a lot of people, but there'd be people roaming around here and there, and I could just rip because I wasn't worried about killing someone or like, you know, just cutting someone's face. 3 micros with 3-inch props were enough to leave me with a couple permanent scars on my fingers from when they went Tasmanian Devil, and like an idiot, I had the props on. I went to the hospital on the one just because it wouldn't stop bleeding for a half an hour, but I really didn't need to go to the hospital. So, I mean, you can't kill somebody with a micro, but you'll certainly ruin somebody's day. And if you hit them in the face, like you can cut deep on their face. Whereas, like with the toothpicks, Kebab has rammed full bore, and as have I, rammed full bore into ourselves, and it's just fine. So, yeah, still don't want to hit people, but the toothpicks are really the only option, and the whoops, of course, for flying around actual people in like a park, and that is probably all you're going to have close enough to you to get to it quick enough on like a lunch break at work. So yeah, there you go. What else do we have in the chat? You guys are doing awesome. Thanks for all the really, really good questions. What else do we have here? Black Mamba F40. Okay, we're good. Nabi asks about the Black Mamba F40. I have not used anything I have not used any of the Mamba stuff. I have not used any of the iFlight stuff, the Zing stuff. I've been flying a lot of 5-inch in the last year and a half because of how beautiful the footage coming out of it is. I think we're very close to getting there with the micros, and I'm really excited. I think the next like 6 months are going to be hysterical for micros, and I think with the RunCam Hybrid, we're going to get to, and the Tarsier V2, I think we're going to get to the point where we can make some pretty sick edits with a very low risk quad, and that's going to be really sick. Chris E asks, why does nobody seem to like Dow 3056 props? I like them, so I don't care if nobody else likes them. Have you got any experience with them? They use less amps but produce a little bit less power than the GemFan 3052. Yeah, so this is I love this question for another reason that we'll talk about real quick here. Dow 3056, 3056, 3 by 5.6. That's a ton of pitch, right? That is a very, very pitchy prop. GemFan 3052, 3 by 5.2, that's less pitch. So you would think, looking at the numbers, that the GemFan 3052 would be easier on the battery, easier on the amps, not make as much power as a Dow 3056. But it's actually the opposite. And I might have both of them right here to show you guys. But even if I don't, okay. So here's the 3056. Let's see if I can scrounge up a 3052. So look at the blade. I want you guys to look at the, this is a banged up one, but look at the blade profile. You see how thin it goes? I'm going the wrong way. See how thin it goes out towards the edge? So like the 56 pitch is basically here. This is really where the 56 pitch is coming from, because it's steep. It is steep for sure. But then Dow made it really thin out here. So it's actually not that bad on amp draw and on your batteries, and it makes less pitch than the GemFan 32, which I am going to have a little bit harder of a time finding, but let me give it one more try. I'm doing it for the stream. I'm just dumping it out on the floor, guys. This should help me find one. There they are. Okay. And 3052s are coming. Yeah, Joshua has it set up where only only mods can post links. So just say how you found it on Google, I guess. Look at that. Look at that 3052, right? So much more aggressive out here, and it's even got the little winglet. So yeah, even though the numbers don't wouldn't make you think that this would make more thrust, it is a more aggressive prop profile, and that's important to remember, right? Like when you get props, don't just go by the numbers. Look at the prop. You can literally see the difference between these two props. You can when you look at them in your hand. I don't know if it's coming through through the internet, but when you just sit here with these two, you can see this one is not going to make as much thrust, and this one is going to be an absolute gorilla beast monster animal and kill all the batteries. So there you go. Great question. I love the Dow 3056 because this outer bit here, thinning out like this, gives it some really nice throttle resolution. The 3052 does what most big pitch props do, which is that their throttle resolution feels really good at the top of the throttle where you spend a lot of time when you're racing, so it's a great racing prop. But for slower speeds or for freestyle type stuff, I prefer something with less pitch, less of a humongous paddle blade, because you tend to get a lot better control at low and medium throttle. So when you're trying to, where you really notice it with these 3052s, when you come down from stuff, or like if you're trying to fly under like a tractor trailer or something like that that's parked, gotta be parked. With the 3052, you'll tend to bounce when you're flying really low. You're doing that in the air, but you can't tell. You can only really tell your elevation bounces when you're really low to the ground and the half of your camera view is filled up by the ground. Whereas with these guys and with less pitchy props, when you come down to do that, it's the throttle is less sensitive there, so you'll be much smoother when you're trying to go under that object, or shoot that gap or whatever it may be. So there you are. All right, I saw another really good question. I have to find it. Okay. Kyle K flies under 250. There you go. Line of sight is legal now. Oh, there it was. License to Drive asks me, Ciotti, what do you think of the Ahren mini props, 3024 3-blade? I love them, but they are less durable than the Gemfan 3028s. These are not all that durable, but the Ahrens, they get really thin, like the plastic gets really thin towards the outside, and what'll happen is it'll, like halfway down the prop, it'll just crease, and then you can never really get that crease back out. It's never really perfectly smooth again. These Gemfans, they'll fold, well, I'll fold one. They fold down at the hub here. See how that folded at the hub? And now I can just bloop, fold it back up, and I just line it up on, I just pick like a reference point on the front of the frame and spin it around and line it up and bend it back again. And this bent back will fly perfectly smooth, whereas the Ahren 3-inch props, when you bend them back, will not. Once they get that crease in them, you can fold that crease back all you want, but they will never be as balanced as one of these 3028s that I've bent back. So there you go. There's a top tip for you. And then what I really wish Emax would do is make a 3-inch version of their Rush and of their Blur. These are awesome props. These are my favorite 2.5-inch props and my favorite 2-inch props. They're hysterically well balanced. Emax, for whatever reason, is able to really balance their micro props better than anybody else, other than maybe Gemfan. But these are so durable. Whatever Sage Thayer did with this blade shape and the thickness of the props, he made these so incredibly durable. I love these props. I really wish that they would do a 3-inch version of these that are as durable. That would be like game over. Just run that prop until the end of time. So Sage Thayer, hook hook us up. We need more really good 3-inch props. Oh, I should mention the other thing I love about these GemFan 3028s is they are both M5 compatible and T-mount compatible. Get in there. Yeah, there it is. They have a really nifty little insert piece that you put in the middle that adapts it to run on T-mount, or you pull that piece out and then you can run them on M5. And that's cool because then you can have multiple, you don't, oh yeah, it's cool. You guys know why it's cool. All right, what time is it? It's 2:48. So we've got 12 more minutes here, and then I hope I do this right. I think what I need to do is stop the stream in OBS, and then I need to take Joshua's stream key out. I need to grab my stream key from the event that I made earlier over on my channel. And then if you guys want more just total rabbit hole dives. Oh, so the other thing I'll do on my channel is I will play a couple of these edits, a couple of these unlisted edits with the audio because I don't care about copyright strikes. So when you that's what I'll do because I do want to troubleshoot. Oh, this would be perfect. I want to troubleshoot this Premiere issue. So I'll put a couple of those edits, the Orange Tree edits on that you guys can check out, and I'll put the audio through. Hopefully the system audio works, and yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. What do we got here? You guys are talking about solar? Oh boy, my parents actually did solar on their roof of their house, and they have contributed to the grid. They no longer pay, they get paid by the electric company up in New Jersey because they, until Bardwell expired, because they're putting, between the electricity that they use in their house, they generate more. They put it into the grid. So there you go. I will not tell Bardwell he's fired. The option of me not doing this stream would just mean you guys didn't have a stream. So hopefully I'm better than nothing. I hope. Ben Jacobs asks, how are the 3-inch Dow Cyclones? They are awesome. That's what we were just talking about. They are arguably my favorite M5, a little bit more pitchy M5 prop, a little bit more pitchy than my current favorite, which is the GemFan 3028. So there we go. What are your favorite props overall? I didn't even realize I was answering that question. There we go. So what other questions do we got, guys? 9 more minutes until, if you want more, you got to come over to my stream. Let me dump the link in. Ooh, that's a good thing for me to do. Let me give you guys the link to my stream so that if you want to continue with the madness, you can. Let's do that over here, and bear with me 1 second. Let me just refresh it, make sure it hasn't changed. I don't know why it would change. There it is. Okay, so here comes the link. There's a link to my stream. If you open that up in another tab, it'll start when I start. I don't know. Things will happen. Click things. Many things will happen. I can't believe that we didn't have more problems than we have. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with me and bearing with me. Like I said earlier, first time using OBX, trying to figure out all the audio situations and hums in the audio, and good Lord. But this went off pretty good. Any 5-inch questions, any more technical questions, get them on in there right now. I do not have super chats over on my channel, so if you want to donate to me, you can either hit my Patreon and you'll get access to some really cool stuff. I use that as like a little secret spot to put notes and all kinds of other fun things. Here's a link to that. That's my Patreon. Or if you want to do like a one-time donation, if you do a super chat here on Joshua's, he's going to send me all of that money at the end of this stream. So huge thanks to everybody that's done that so far. Big thanks to everybody that's joined over on Patreon. You guys rule. You're keeping me motivated to do more of this stuff, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Craft King asks, is there a max capacitor size for 5-inch? Is the 100 UF size sufficient always? Craft King, I think you meant to say 1000 UF. From what I've heard, we don't even really need the thousands. From what I've heard, a 640, is it? I think it's one size down from 640. I think that is big enough. But most of the frames have enough room for a 35 volt 1000. Just throw it in there. You know, if your build doesn't support that big of a cap, you should be fine with the. Is it 640? Let me see. You guys will get a kick out of this. So there's 1000 with one of the stickers from Race Day Quads on it. Here's their other sticker that I really like. Let me find the one step down real quick. 680, that's it. 680 UF. Supposedly a 35 volt 680 UF is all we'll ever need on a 5-inch rig. But like I said, they make the stickers for the thousands, so I'll keep running the thousands till the day that I die. So there you go. There's some tech for you guys. What do you think about the run cam? Lance asks. Lance, I'm assuming you're talking about the run cam hybrid. Tommy told me the image quality is staggeringly good. I'm a little bit freaked out by the fact that it's only a 140 field of view. The Tarsier is a 150 supposedly. I'm hoping that either the V2 Tarsier will be even wider than that, because GoPros are 170 field of view, and I really think that works best for FPV. I've already asked Claire, I want to say, at RunCam if we can get a wider lens on the hybrid, and she said that they'll look into it. I don't get any hookups from any of these people, but luckily I have some folks' ears. Tommy, a while back, put in a good word for me at RunCam. Yeah, and MC Creations just said it. Albert, Kim, and Tommy, oh my God, just dropped a video comparing the Tarsier and the RunCam hybrid. So there we go. I also do not suggest that you get a V1 Tarsier. Sorry, Cadix, but this was, I don't think this should have been released to the public. I think this should have been a prototype, the V1 Tarsier. It's very hard to set up. I'm assuming that the V2, they fixed a lot of the setup problems, which is the only complaint. That's the only gripe that I really had about the Tarsier. So yeah, wait for their V2 or snag up that RunCam hybrid, because they're both going to change micros forever. Being able to fly comfortably through a legit FPV feed and then get actual HD content. And now we've got frames like the Acrobrat that have the clean and dirty system, so you don't have so much jello. A lot of really, really cool things are going on in micros that are going to allow us to get good quality video, fly confidently, fly a little bit more safe. You know, places around the world that have the 250 gram limit, you can absolutely build a Acrobrat that comes in under that 250 limit and really, really rips. It won't be this one. I don't think you'll be able to run the upcoming T-Motor F20 Pro 3s. I think they're going to be a little bit too heavy. But if someone would make us a nice hint, and if somebody would make us like a nice 1406 or a 1505 or even a 1506 that's smooth, man, that would be it. You'd be able to do a sub 250 gram build on a 4S 650 battery, 4,000 to 4,500 kV, hopefully, get great power, 10-to-1 power to rate, and have something that comes pretty darn close to a 600 plus gram, you know, death machine of a of a 5-inch mini quad. And I think that's something that would be really nice for everybody to have. If nothing else, right? One of the ways that I love using micros and why I still have some that don't have HD in them is if we get to a sketchy spot or a spot where there might be like 2.4 gigahertz routers or just, who knows, sketchy spot, or maybe a dangerous spot, take your $140 FPV only micro and fly it there. That's the first battery that you fly. See if it falls out of the sky. See how, push it out. See how the video does. Your video is going to be at 200 milliwatts, or maybe 400 if you have the Pro 32 Nano. But it's just going to give you a chance to check out the RF situation where you're at before you go putting something big and heavy and dangerous up in the air. So even and a toothpick is going to be great for that too. That's another beautiful reason to build a toothpick. Actually, okay, so that's my excuse to build a toothpick. All right, so I'll bug Bob this week and get on that to get a toothpick built, because that's perfect for FPV only. So yeah, we're kind of coming to the end here. I got one more minute, so I will wrap it up. Thanks to everybody that hung in. I know this is a completely different stream than the standard Bardwell stream, but I hope I gave you guys some good technical stuff. Most of the questions were micro related, but again, I've spent a ton of time with 5-inch mini quads. So I appreciate everybody bearing with me. We had some technical stuff. It was a real adventure. You guys rule. My name is Ahren Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to get my stream up over on my page. Here you go. Let me drop a couple links in the chat. Here is my Patreon. Here comes a link to my stream that's starting in a few. There you guys go. And yeah, I think I might be doing this one more time for Joshua next Sunday, maybe even next Monday as well. But he'll keep you guys up to date. Again, thanks for everybody hanging out. Thanks for everybody being cool. You guys rule. I hope you learned something today. Come on over to my stream and we'll play some copyrighted music and piss YouTube off. So I'm gonna hit stop streaming. Hopefully that stops Joshua Bardwell's stream. You guys are awesome. I'll see you on my channel. Later. Stop.